2 felt more like a fantasy slice of life romance without that hook that had me coming back. Season 2 was still enjoyable, but I definitely didn't enjoy it for the same reasons as I enjoyed Season 1. I didn't have that much of a hook. It's way more of just a typical fantasy slice of life with a bit of romance in it. So I'm going to put this at B tier. ReZero Season 2. So I am surprised that more people have not been talking about ReZero Season 2. I thought Season 2 was great. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than Season 1. I enjoyed it for different reasons. Season 2, to me, felt like watching Attack on Titan Season 2 all over again. And let me just explain that, okay? Attack on Titan Season 1, for me, was just this really fast roller coaster ride where you had a lot of things happening, a lot of shocking moments, but at the end of Season 1, I kind of just was left there feeling a little empty. I didn't know where the story was going. And to me, that was ReZero Season 1. ReZero Season 2, it put way more of a focus on the characters and the world building, which isn't bad, but it just felt like there was less going on overall than Season 1. Whether that's better or worse, it's up for debate, but I feel like it sets the stage perfectly for future seasons, which is why I really fucking hope it gets more seasons. There was one thing that Season 2 did that completely surprised me. It made me like Amelia. I've shit on Amelia so fucking much, but it actually made her a character and not just some cheap waifu bait like she was in Season 1. It blew my mind when I'm just like, damn, I kind of think Amelia's best girl. Guys, I think I'm turning into an Amelia sim. I've turned into everything that I fucking despised beforehand. I think I've actually turned into an Amelia sim. I think her character development in Season 2 is fucking fantastic. I think Subaru's development in Season 2 was fucking fantastic. I would put this at the same level as Mushoku Tensei Season 1. It's like a low S tier for me. Next one, Realist Hero. I really fucking like Realist Hero because I remember watching this and I'm just like, oh, it's kingdom building, it's city building. That's basically just slime all over again. I think it's different enough from slime because one, Rimuru actually has powers and he actually has influence with how powerful he is as a slime. Realist Hero, he basically has to use his knowledge from our world. The only weapon he has that makes him overpowered is his knowledge of our world. And I think what's really interesting is that he uses psychological and philosophical learnings from our old world and applies it to the fantasy world. There's a lot of references to Machiavellianism. How the fuck do I pronounce this? Machiavellianism. Fuck, what is wrong with me? Machiavellianism. All right, I'm gonna get this right. Machiavellianism. Okay, there we go. Okay, back to Realist Hero. He uses a lot of lessons from, for example, Machiavelli. Fuck.
Mission failed. We'll go next time.
I thought it was super fucking interesting. I think it does more than what Slime does. I mean, Slime does something different, but I think this one's more focused. So that's why I'm gonna put it up as A tier. So next we have Restaurant in Another World. I think this one's pretty simple in its appeal. If you just want a nice, comfy show about people from other worlds just enjoying good food, then this is the show for you. I don't really have much to say about it. Sydney fucking loves Restaurant to Another World because she fucking loves food manga. To me, it's not really my kind of show. It's not really my kind of isekai. It's not bad. I don't really have much to say about it. Season 2, I watched an episode and it was exactly the same as Season 1. It's a C tier. All right, Slime baby. I feel like people thought Slime Season 1 was a good show. It was a good show, but not a great show. Slime Season 1 fucking sped through the source material like nobody's business. I thought it was like an okay adaptation to the manga, which I might for the manga. Slime Season 2 turned a good show into a great show. The focus was less on how powerful Rimuru is, and it became more of this city building civilization type anime. Like I thought Season 1 was just like, oh, Slime is this happy-go-lucky wholesome show. It's a wholesome show. That didn't fucking happen in Season 2. It went down a more darker route and it explored more sides of Rimuru's character. It was just a step up in every way possible, and I highly recommend Slime Season 2 to everyone who watched Slime Season 1 and enjoyed it, but then had enough. I will say, I don't think it's on the same level as Mushoku Tensei and ReZero Season 2. You know what? I'm going to make a new row, and this row is called Worse Than Mushoku Tensei. All right, because it is. Am I still salty about the Anime Awards? Yes, okay? It is not in the same tier. It is not in the same tier. You are not there yet, Slime. You are not there yet. I really fucking enjoyed you. You're not there standing with the greats, with the juggernauts just yet, okay? That is the one anime award I'm giving out this year in the Gig Up Anime Awards. Slime Season 2 wins the award for being worse than Mushoku Tensei. All right, Slime 300. I will say that it has absolutely zero in common with that time I got reincarnated as a slime. It's a cute, comfy slice of life. It gets a C tier for me. Okay, next we got Slime Diaries. I'll be honest, I didn't really see the appeal of Slime Diaries. I don't know who looked at Slime and was just like, I'm invested enough in these characters that I want a full spin-off. If Slime was in Isekai Quartet, I would prefer that. I think there's nothing more that screams C tier than me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. So I'm a Spider. So what? This one, I've read the manga. I also watched the anime. The reason I read this manga, I saw the studio that was adapting the show, and I thought, fuck, this is the same studio that adapted Berserk 2016 and 17. I'm reading the manga right now before I see what kind of shit show is produced. Having said that, they definitely learned from their mistakes from Berserk 2016 and 17 because the CG, I wouldn't say it's good. This is so much better compared to that. And also, I do think that the anime adaptation was better. And I have one reason for that, and that is Aoi Yuki. My fucking god. I regret reading the manga because Aoi Yuki gave so much personality to the spider. She fucking brought her to life. The other thing that I would say was great about this isekai is that it is basically just a 20 episode long training arc of her getting overpowered. And I actually liked seeing that progression for once. It just was different enough where I had a good time with it. I think it's a very, very solid isekai. Aoi Yuki fucking solo carried it. I think it's a solid A tier. And I really hope that we get a season 2 of it because I think it was a very, very solid isekai that's different enough from your typical isekai formula. So this is, I believe, Spirit Chronicles. This gets a C tier for my boy Sea Dog. I'll be honest, I wasn't that impressed with this isekai. This one was a very generic fantasy show. In any other world, I would give this a D tier. But for my boy, just for my boy, I'm gonna put it up to C tier. C for Connor. Or C Dog. A for Ape. All right, this one is Standing on a Million Lives 2. This one was pretty bad. It is not a good isekai, I'll say that. It did one thing that like piqued a minuscule of my curiosity, and that is I appreciated the fact that they gave him a class that was not just like the generic OP classes. So for example, I remember one point he gets like the blacksmith class, which is like shit for combat. So he has to use this class to really make weapons that are OP for other characters to use. And I thought that that was like a minuscule amount of interest. Having said that, it's like a D tier for me, maybe even E tier. It's not as bad as Full Dive. I'll be generous and give it a D tier. So this next one, The Fruit of Evolution. This one was absolute shit. I'll be honest, I don't even remember much about this. I remember like, this is the one where the guy gets isekai'd with a bunch of girls in his classroom or something. I'm making you, bro. There's nothing to even say about this. It's F tier. This ain't even good trash. It is just trash. Let's see. We got The Saint's magic power is omnipotent. I watched a few episodes. It seemed alright. Just didn't really grab my interest. So I'm going to put it at C tier. It was okay. Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy. I remember watching the first episode of this and I actually skipped it. And then I went through like an isekai binge and I'm like, I don't know why. Maybe I'll give this one a chance. This one was actually really fucking good. I was so fucking surprised. What I really liked about it is that it was self-aware, but that it didn't make the self-awareness a part of its own identity. I feel like it did enough to have like a pretty interesting story. It's pretty funny as well. It doesn't do anything vastly different. What it does do different is distinct enough, and what it does do good makes it a very, very solid isekai show. So this goes, I'm going to put this in A tier. I enjoyed it as much as Spider and everything else. Next show, we got The Assassin Isekai. What is the full name of this? The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. I actually really fucking enjoyed this one. Out of all of these, it had some really gamer moments, but it also had some really interesting moments as well. There were moments when I believe like he gets like a slave or a servant or something, right? And I'm just like, of course, there it is. There it is. But the parts that were like enjoyable were really enjoyable. I thought like it was a really cool concept to see someone who was actually skilled and overpowered in the old world and give him a mission to assassinate someone in a fantasy world. I thought it was really interesting to basically see how he goes about breaking the systems presented in this fantasy world when you got stuff like magic and things like that as well. I just think it took a little bit too long to get going. There was this really weird thing with his fucking mother or something where like his mother basically told him that she wishes that he could still suckle on her nipples. And I'm just like, well, what the fuck is this? This isn't Mother Knows Breast, okay? This isn't the fucking MILF isekai. I'm watching this guy try to become assassin. I'm not watching this isekai to watch a fucking kid suckle on his mother's nipple again, okay? Where was this part in fucking John Wick? You know, there was a reason that this character arc wasn't in John Wick. Another thing I did like about it was I liked that they introduced this idea that the goddess actually transported multiple people to this fantasy world. And you get to see some of the stories of some of the different people that have been transported to this fantasy world that have been given the same mission and have completely fucking failed it. I think the good parts were really interesting, but I think it was tied down by some of the bad points as well. But to me, this is a B tier in terms of isekai. It's a high B tier. There were enough things that put me off from it being an A tier. There was a lot of like trashy moments in it, but it was very much enjoyable trash. Next, we have, I think this is Banished Hero. Banished from the hero's party, I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. This is just a fantasy. Some isekais and some fantasies are so indistinguishable that I just forget that some fantasies are not isekai. To me, I thought this was a better version of Drugstore in Another World. This had a more interesting concept where I liked that it was from the hero's party who just wasn't strong enough to be part of the main party that was defeating the Demon Lord anymore. I liked it. The world is interesting. It just was a bit too slow for me. When I saw like the main duo, I was just like, can you guys just fuck already? Guys, can you just fuck? Just stop teasing my balls. Just fucking fuck already, please. It is a slice of life. I'm not a massive fan of slice of life. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give this a C. I'm sure if you like slice of life and romance, it would probably be B tier. It just had an interesting premise to me. All right, combatants will be dispatched. So this was the show that I actually got to get a little sneak preview of. I got to go to the studio that made this. If you want to check that out, then if it's on YouTube, here's the thumbnail. Here's the thumbnail of the video. I'll be honest, I think I would have enjoyed this more if this came before Konosuba. It came from the same writer as Konosuba, but he actually wrote this before he wrote Konosuba. And I remember watching this and I remember reading the manga. It felt like some of the same ideas that were in Konosuba, but just they weren't as well developed. Like the comedy and the character interactions and the character chemistry in general, there were shades of the same chemistry you see in Konosuba, but it just wasn't as well developed. I kind of got bored with it for that reason. I remember thinking I'd rather be watching Konosuba right now. This is like a low B for me. It might even be C. I feel like I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and put it low B because I'm seeing some of these other shows in C tier and I'm like, it's better than these shows. Not that much better, but it's a low B. Suppose a kid from the last Dungeon Boonies, something. I don't remember the fucking name of this. Here's the problem with shows like this. Clearly made as a satire of power fantasy anime. Because the concept of this is that you have a kid that basically grew up in a town that was next to like the final dungeon of this world. And he decides to move to the starter town. Now, in this endgame area, he's actually pretty weak, but compared to everyone in the starter town, he finds out that he's strong as fuck. It's less about showing his overpowered protagonist, and it's more about making fun of overpowered protagonist. Having said that, I don't think it really did anything more than just try to be meta. I feel like all of its jokes hang on the fact that it's making fun of power fantasy anime, and that just got boring after like 2 episodes. I didn't even think that the episodes that I did show was that funny in the first place. I'm gonna give it a D tier. Redo of Healer. Okay, people are like S. Guys, stop being horny for a second. This ain't S tier. Are we talking S for sus here? Let's think with our minds for a sec. We're here to think with our minds. I'm gonna make a fucking U tier just for this. This belongs in the H tier, okay? You know why? You know fucking why it belongs in the H tier. Get that S tier shit out of here. I'm about to come in with a pretty hot take. I don't know if it's hot or cold or lukewarm. I actually think Redo was pretty fucking shit. Here's the fucking reason. I know all you horny motherfuckers want to put it in S tier. Bruh, there are better hentai you can jack off to. You think I'd rather watch Redo over fucking rants? Over Isekai Harem Monogatari? Come on, guys. I would prefer if actually Redo was like a full-on hentai, because the sex scenes in Redo, I'm gonna say it, they weren't that great. The sex scenes in Redo are a warm-up for actual hentai. If we are going to judge Redo for the plot, are you fucking kidding me? The plot of Redo was just bad. It was just bad, okay? It was bad. It was a bad story with bad characters and a bad plot. Like, it wasn't even shocking bad. It was so bad that Twitter wasn't even offended. For Twitter to be offended, there needs to be enough people actually trying to defend the substance behind the show. No one watching Redo was actually trying to defend the substance behind the plot here. We all know it was a shit plot. Let's like actually acknowledge that we don't actually give a shit about the plot about Redo, and let's give an extra few minutes to the sex scenes in Redos. If you did that, easy S tier. But as it stands, Redo is a worse version than most hentai and is a worse plot than most fantasy anime. Redo is foreplay the anime. Why is it foreplay the anime? Because it's foreplay for the hentai you're actually going to read or watch. That is Redo of a healer in a nutshell. You don't stop at the foreplay, you're not going to stop at Redo of a healer. And that is where I'm going to end it. Sunny Boy. So this one is actually a bit of a curveball here, because is it your traditional isekai? Nope. Is it an isekai? Fucking definitely, okay? As you know, it was one of my favorite anime of the year. I think it was number 10. I still do not know where to place this show, because I think I enjoyed it. But at the same time, I'm not sure what I watched. It's one of those shows that I feel like I'm going to need to let sink in for a while. It's one of my favorite shows, but I'm still going to put it at, you know what? I'm going to put it as worse than Mushoku Tensei. Because it is worse than Mushoku Tensei. That's all I know about this show. But I do think it's a show that if you're in the mood for something a bit more deep, a bit more philosophical, then you should give Sunny Boy a shot. Far Away Paladin. I had such high hopes for this one because I watched the first episode. It was very obvious that the writer was influenced by Mushoku Tensei. They've really put the time in to actually develop the world and develop the characters. This is one show where I would have put it at A tier, but I don't think the anime adaptation was that good. I much preferred the manga. Like, the fight scenes, I think, were not good at all in Far Away Paladin. I think you'd have a better time reading the manga than you would watching the anime. So this goes in B tier. If it was the manga, it would be A tier. Let me see. This is the hidden dungeon only I can enter. This is pretty damn fucking shit from what I remember. I didn't watch more than 3 episodes because it was pretty damn boring. The only thing I remember about this show was this guy made out with was it his sister or his childhood friend? I don't fucking remember. Has like incest just taken over my mind that I just assume that everyone from someone's childhood is their sister? It's his friend? Okay, it's his friend. Ignore what I just said. Ignore that. Guys, it was always his childhood friend. I didn't mention incest at all. Shut the fuck up. Alan, cut that out. So he makes out with his childhood friend. And I remember how he makes out with his childhood friend is this girl has a fucking migraine. And he's just like, hey bruh, you know what? What if we just fucking kiss and I'll get rid of your fucking migraine? And I'm just like, who would fucking fall for this? Who would fall for this? And the girl falls for it. Like, you think this shit would work in real life? No. Aside from that, I don't remember anything else. This is like E tier, I guess. This is E tier. And then finally, we got Arcane. Is Arcane an anime? Is it an isekai? Is it a fantasy? I don't know. It is a fantasy. I just wanted to talk about Arcane because I haven't had a chance to talk about it since my video about it. Okay, this is my fucking list. Of course, you know it's fucking S tier. The reason I wanted to put Arcane on this list was just so I can like gush about it a bit more. I was actually going to make like a follow-up video on Arcane, but I didn't think I had enough to say about it to warrant its own video. But that's why we have a stream. You guys are gonna sit here and listen to me fucking gush about Arcane just one more time. What I wanted to say about it was I had this realization because when I made my video about Arcane, it was just as the show finished airing. So I tried not to let the hype really cloud my judgment because I know recency bias is going to be a thing. So I knew I needed to wait like a short while for it to actually sink in, for me to actually like properly form my opinion. Arcane is good, but I didn't know how good Arcane was. And I've watched it twice. I've watched it more than once now. I've let it sink in. And I think that I am now comfortable saying that I think it's a masterpiece. I'm saying that. I think season 1 of League of Legends Arcane is a masterpiece. I don't want to like throw that word out cheaply, but I think Arcane deserves it. I've tried to like really think about it, and there are so many things that this show does amazingly and better than anything else like I've ever seen. I wanted to make a video on the Echo versus Jinx fight. I've rewatched that one fucking scene more times than I care to count, and it just gets better every fucking time I watch it. I think that is actually the perfect scene in terms of animation, storytelling, just general coolness and music. My fucking god, that is just like a god tier scene. And the reason I didn't make a video on it is because the video would just be me explaining the scene. But the problem is the scene does such a good job at conveying what it needs to explain that I would just be doing disservice by explaining what the scene is already doing to the viewer. But I will give you a fucking cliff notes of what I wanted to say anyway. We all know how badass the music is and how badass this fucking animation is. Okay, that really speaks for itself. And you know, that's what I noticed on my first viewing of this, which was how fucking cool the animation changes style. This is amazing, yada yada yada. What I find amazing about this one scene is it almost shows these two characters' entire backstory, an entire relationship, without a single piece of dialogue being exchanged between them. It establishes that these two obviously were good friends as kids, and Echo uses that knowledge from his game to beat Jinx in this fight. It does this through just like subtle facial expressions. The shot where Echo like fucking exhales. There's so much going on in just these few seconds. You see the emotional journey he goes on, where he starts off being disappointed and then he proposes playing a game with Jinx. You see Jinx going from surprise to just be like, all right, let's do this. It conveys this so well without having me to explain it. Obviously, I'm explaining it now and I'm ruining the scene, but you garner that without them saying anything. I think it's just like such a masterclass in storytelling that you're able to garner their entire relationship just through shit like this. This is my single favorite scene from 2021. I fucking also love this transition where they just transition to kids again and you're like, okay, they're not playing your kids. It's fucking amazing. That's all I wanted to say. I'm not going to go through a full-on fucking map breakdown of the scene. It's fucking incredible. If you haven't watched Arcane, go watch Arcane. It is a masterpiece. I'm comfortable comfortable in saying that now. Can you imagine if this scene was a fucking anime scene? Echo would take his watch out, and then what would happen is a fucking narrator would come in and be like, and this is what happened when Echo and Jinx were kids. And they'd go to a fucking flashback where a narrator just narrates a full play-by-play of their fucking relationship as kids. All right, there, I'm done. Anyway, that was my full ranking of every isekai and fantasy in 2021. Isekai last year was pretty fucking solid. In a lot of years, you would have had like maybe 1 or 2 A tiers, and then everything was like C and D tier. But this year, there was some S tiers, there was some A tiers, there was a lot of B tiers. I know I'm the isekai trash man, I know, but guys, this isn't copium. I genuinely think that 2021 was a pretty good fucking year for isekai. I might even say it's like the best year of isekai to come out since the isekai boom. Anyway, that has been me ranking every isekai and fantasy of 2021 with a few twists here and there. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi YouTube. If you don't know, I stream on twitch.tv/giguk. And if you want to watch the full unedited VOD of this, you can just click the link in the description. I do have a third channel for just all my VODs. Anyway, that's it from me for today. I've been Giguk, and I will see you all next time.
This is the story of how one player fundamentally changed how people play Geometry Dash forever. The player in question was praised as the best creator in the community, and then he suddenly just vanished without a trace. The only thing he left behind was an account that was mysteriously operated by someone else. It's been years since then, and players today never really found out what actually happened. Where did he go? This video is a personal appreciation letter to this creator. This is the story of Funny Game. Starting as a mobile game, Geometry Dash quickly rose to be one of the biggest platformers ever. Sharing a lot of gameplay elements with the internet classic The Impossible Game, it quickly dominated the app stores and rose to massive popularity. The game works in a very simple way. You have to reach the end of the level without dying. For stupid people, you see a spike, you click, and therefore you make the tiny square jump. Pretty easy, right? Well, at the start maybe. The game comes with 21 levels, which all have different songs, different difficulties, and most importantly, different game modes. This little cube is only 1 out of 7 different game modes you swap in and out of by going through these differently colored portals. And this can get very crazy very quickly. Every once in a blue moon, and I mean every once in a blue moon, the game developer RubTop releases a new update, adding a new game mode and a new main level to beat. But how on earth is such a simple game, with the last update being 5 years ago, still alive and kicking 9 years later? Well, for one reason only. The game comes with an editor, which allows you to create your own levels. Wherever there is room for creativity, humans will gather to show off what they can come up with. This is why level editors in games are always such amazing showcases of the human imagination, given only a base set of tools. In the span of 9 years, we went from levels looking like a simple Impossible Game ripoff to amazing expressions of art and creativity. But very early on, when levels still looked like this instead of this, one creator stood out from the rest. His name was Funny Game. To fully show off how special this player was, we need to go back years and years. Custom levels back then all kinda looked the same. Players only had a very limited toolset to work with. Simple, boring blocks, and only a few gameplay mechanics to play with. They couldn't even use more than one color at the same time. How did people... This naturally led to a lot of levels looking very similar. They didn't have a lot of options to stand out from another. However, Funny Game was one of the first creators to really stray away from the normal default style of Geometry Dash levels. The best early example I could find of this was Funny Game's level Crazy Bolt. Guess what the level is about? Yeah, it's about bolts. I don't know what you expected. The name's Crazy Bolt. You get the idea. You have no idea how cool this was for what, 2013? When the f was this? Basically, for back then, it was absolutely unheard of for levels to have a theme. You can clearly see Funny Game try to go for a factory theme with these crazy bolts, I said it, just scattered all around the level. This was something new and so creative. 2 years after Funny Game releases that level, a small unknown player would find exactly this level and be inspired to start his own creating career. But who cares about that guy? People back then weren't used to this kind of creating. It wasn't default blocks anymore, it was something new. And this was only the start. At no point was this more noticeable than when Geometry Dash finally received the update 1.9. Not only did people now have tons of new cool blocks to play with, but people now could also assign up to 4 colors to objects. This basically opened up Pandora's box to creating user levels in Geometry Dash as we know them today. A lot of people call update 1.9 the golden age of Geometry Dash. I'm not sure if that's true, but one thing that I know for certain is that Funny Game was about to absolutely pop off. Every single time this guy uploaded a new level, it was an absolute banger. I remember waking up to notifications in the Skype group chats from people asking if others had played the new Funny Game level yet. I always got super excited about his levels because for some reason they just felt different. They felt sincere, like there was a guy who genuinely cared about making a cool and fun level to play instead of just making a generic level just to get it featured on the main page. You know who you are. The attention to detail was insane for the time. For example, these notes in La Campanella actually are the notes of the song, which I for some reason didn't know. Did he actually use the right notes? Did he? No, don't tell me. The man was clearly putting in a lot of hard work into his levels. Work that went beyond what most other creators would be willing to go through for a tiny level in a 4-year mobile game. And people noticed exactly that, elevating Funny Game to a somewhat godlike status in the community. Something that people didn't notice, however, was Funny Game himself. He never really interacted with the community that much and therefore was surrounded by a lot of mystery. This, however, was not the only reason why he was a bit of a mystery. Why are you standing so far away? It is 2015. Players from all around the world wake up to see a new level featured at the top of the list called Death Moon. This level was made by someone called Caustic, and man, was it sending waves through the community. Everyone was talking about this level. It was outstanding, so many creative effects, such unique art, and the entire aesthetic just felt amazing. And the craziest thing was, whoever this person was, it was his first level. It didn't even take a day for people to start theorizing that Caustic might be a secret alt account of Funny Game. But that would be ridiculous, right? Who would upload an entire level they spent weeks or months on to a different account, hiding their identity? Well, Funny Game for some reason? Remember earlier when I explained that you can just feel when you play a Funny Game level? It turns out all the people saying the level felt like a Funny Game level, they were right. He was the owner of the account Caustic. Why would he hide his identity? We don't really know. All we know is that this level was amazing, and basically everyone who played it instantly fell in love with it. We now enter 2016. 2.0 released not too long ago, and even more revolutionary features were added to the game, including move triggers, basically unlimited color channels, even more crazy blocks to play with, and with those, the floodgates opened. 2.0 was the era levels really started to look like the levels that we see today, and leading the push was of course Funny Game. Abyss. This has to be one of my favorite levels from Funny Game. It basically showed everyone in the community what was actually possible with the new move triggers added to the game. The most insane thing about this level was the fully moving custom backgrounds. Before this, almost nobody even thought of the idea to create your own backgrounds and make them move. Finally, levels could jump away from the 20 default backgrounds provided by the game, and the community noticed. All of a sudden, levels with custom backgrounds were popping up everywhere, with Funny Game seemingly being the one to massively popularize the concept. Another game-changing thing this level introduced was the low detail mode. By touching this trigger at the start, it would disable tons of objects everywhere, making the level easier to run for low-end devices like phones. This is a concept that to this day has become the standard of every big level. Without a low detail mode, you basically cut out a huge percentage of the player base that can't handle these insane complex levels. Over 2.0 and even the start of 2.1, Funny Game kept releasing banger after banger after banger, serious with one of the first big effort boss fight concepts, Lonely Travel, basically spawning an entire trend of really long levels.